So this will be our first episode, possibly, or an episode 0 that's not actually maybe ever going to get published, but it's going to be, if it is going to be published, it'll be titled Before the Games, because we haven't played any games yet, but it's kind of important to get an understanding of like what games we actually like to play, and the fact that we're from almost two generations removed from each other, very close. And I am Eric. This is Short Game, Long Talk, but we haven't played any games, so like I said, it's before the games, and you can introduce yourself however you want.
Yeah, I'm Jess.
Very simple. I like it. But yeah, we have, so you were born in 2005?
Yeah, 05.
Yeah, and I'm 1993, so there's a pretty big gap. Yeah.
12-year difference.
Between the time that you were born, or I was born and you were born, I believe the Super Nintendo, the N64, the Sega Dreamcast, the PlayStation 1, 2, Xbox, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy Advance came out.
My first game device was a DS.
Nice. That's a great.
Yeah.
I think we've talked about it once before, where I'm like, I'm so jealous of the games you grew up with compared to what I grew up with.
I grew up with Mario Kart in my hands.
Yeah, that's nuts.
And Nintendogs.
Yeah. Oh, I know. There was a Nintendo Direct recently, like September 18th or something like that, and Nina was just hoping that because there was a rumor that Nintendogs was going to come to Switch, and it didn't happen, obviously.
Damn,
but
I'd pay so much money for that.
I feel like most people would, and they're just kind of leaving money on the table, because it's it can't be hard to make that game.
Yeah, no. You just make a dog. Yeah. Make it bark.
But what's your earliest memory of a game where you're like, this is my favorite game?
God. It was on the DS.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot what it's called, but it's one where you take care of hamsters.
Is it animated?
Yeah, it's
is it Hamtaro?
I don't remember. It was like Nintendogs, but for hamsters.
Okay, that's crazy. I've never heard of that.
Hold on, now I gotta look it up because it was my favorite game.
No, that's that. Yeah, I mean, earliest memory, favorite game, taking care of hamsters on Nintendo DS. If it was cartoonish, I would say that's
Hamster's Life.
Hamster's Life. Damn.
That shit was so much fun.
Yeah, that literally looks... that had a Z on the title.
Yeah.
Hamsters.
Yeah,
because it was edgy in the mid-2000s. That's crazy. Because, yeah, you probably weren't, playing games until, 2010, maybe?
Yeah. The first, actual, not including Wii, like Wii Bowling and stuff.
Yeah. Hey, that's a game. No discrediting. That's a game.
Yeah, no. But, the first console and, game that I played was on the Genesis.
Hell yeah. I have literally... Wait, where is it? Right there. Look, my Genesis is right there. That thing is older than both of us.
It was Genesis. I had the joystick with the two buttons.
Okay.
And it was the Sonic game.
Yeah. Wow. What Genesis were you playing that had a joystick? That's crazy.
I don't know. Something from my grandma brought it over.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, that's very funny. So we actually have a very similar experience then, because my first game that I ever remember playing was Sonic on the Genesis. So that's a very weird link that we have, even though there's a 12-year difference between us. The Genesis was the first console I ever played, but the first one I really remember playing was the Dreamcast that came out in 98. So I was 5 years old, and it was brand new. My dad bought it for us for Christmas and got us Sonic Adventure, and I played the hell out of that game. I played that so much, and I was terrible at it. And now looking back, that game is so terrible, but it's so fun at the same time. And I think my first memory of what's my favorite game was a game called Power Stone, which is a co-op multiplayer 4-person fighter, 3D fighter. And it was just I'm sure there's 100 people out there that would be yeah, fuck yeah, Power Stone. But that game was just incredible for me. But I've been playing games since 98. I've been playing Pokemon since 98, and they just celebrated their 25th anniversary, which messed me up. I was oh my God. I've been playing. It came out in '98 in the States, and I think I've been playing since 1999.
God damn.
Yeah, so that's quite a bit. And for me, like games have been in my life because my dad was like super into video games. I'm the youngest, just like you, of
Yeah.
3, but you have 2 older brothers, which kind of skews it differently. Like for me, I have 2 older sisters, and they were not really interested in video games, so it's not like I had influences other than my dad to like play games, and my dad just was like, I have a Genesis, it's fine. I was like, that no, it's not fine.
Yeah, no, my brothers are complete nerds.
Yes.
They, let's see, begged for. So I was never allowed to play the video games because we had my brothers and then my 2 cousins as well.
Yeah.
So it was all 4 of them always playing. So I was just like sit and watch them play on the GameCube.
Yeah.
Fondest memory of that was Spy versus Spy.
I know. Nina has talked about that game. For those of you listening, that's my wife and Jess's cousin. I literally she's talked about that game before, being like, because I knew Spy versus Spy because my dad watched the show. Like,
it's a show?
Yes, it's an old show and comic and stuff. And when I brought up, she brought up Spy vs. Spy, I was like, oh, wow, you know Spy vs. Spy? She's like, oh, yeah, the video game. The video game? I was like, what are you talking about? That's crazy.
Yeah.
So you guys all just have this, core memory of, the Spy vs. Spy video game.
Yeah.
Just so funny.
Fun fact about the GameCube and them playing Spy vs. Spy. I was an annoying kid.
Uh-huh.
And since I wasn't allowed to play with them and I would watch, their mom, my aunt would, be like, oh, go get the boys, tell them that dinner's ready. And so I'd be like, hey, guys, dinner's ready. And they'd be like, okay, once we finish this match. And then so I'd go and tell their mom, oh, they said after this game. And she's like, but it's getting cold. So I'd go over and hit the power button on the GameCube and be like, dinner's ready.
That's insane. I would lose my mind. I think my dad did that to me 3 times ever because I was not listening and not coming to whatever situation he wanted me to come look at or whatever. And yeah, that is absolutely how to make an enemy for life.
Yeah, I did it multiple times until they moved it up onto a dresser where I could not reach it anymore.
That's smart thinking by them. Oh my God, that's terrible. That's so funny though. Holy crap. When do you feel like you started to have you always played video games, or was there a time period where you kind of had a gap where you weren't playing games as much?
Oh, there's definitely a gap. Definitely. From my freshman year to middle of sophomore year.
Okay.
I was
a year and a half ish.
Yeah, during quarantine, which is the weirdest thing.
Yeah, right.
But I'd only play one video game, and that was every maybe 2 weeks, and that was Minecraft.
Yeah. Yeah, you and your family are definitely into Minecraft for sure. I haven't fully ever gotten into it. I enjoy it, but I'm waiting to have a full setup where I can just sit down and play it because playing it on the Switch and consoles and stuff is fine, but you need a
PC.
You need a keyboard.
Yeah.
It's tough otherwise. So during quarantine, you didn't play video games.
Yeah.
That on the other hand, I did nothing but play Animal Crossing for 600 hours.
Oh no, you're right. Completely forgot about Animal Crossing.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's the quarantine game that everybody played.
Yeah, no. Now that I'm thinking about it, those are the 2 games I played during quarantine: Animal Crossing and Minecraft.
Animal Crossing was the reason to wake up during 2020. It was there's no other reason to wake up because I'm working from home, I have nothing to do, and the game just is there and has something new every morning. So it's oh yeah, gotta wake up and play it. That's the only reason to wake up right now because there's nothing else going on.
And that's the only reason to wake up on Sundays for your turnips.
Hell yeah. Yeah, you got to play the stock market.
Yeah. I literally would text my group chat of my friends and be like, hey, my turnips are for 30 bells. Who wants some? And they'd come over to my island.
I went online to find the best prices and then would monitor them throughout the week.
God, you are just really stocks person.
Yeah, well, again, I had nothing else to do. I wasn't in school. I was like I said, working from home and didn't really have a job. And like I would just monitor, and then all of a sudden I would buy full inventory of turnips and then sell them for like a couple million like every single week. So I was just like never had problems with money. So you were just playing Animal Crossing from freshman to sophomore year. What do you feel like you play more video games now, or do you feel like you're kind of like in a period of ramp up where you're getting back into video games?
So it's been a roller coaster recently, because there have been times in my schedule where I have like nothing to do for 2 weeks, and I'm like, great, I can continue playing this game.
Yeah.
But then with school and extracurriculars and everything, I just like my schedules. I'm at school at 6:30, and I don't leave until 5.
Yeah, that's a job. So,
yeah.
That's kind of the premise of why I wanted to do this podcast, is like even though there's a 12-year age difference, like with a full-time job and your school like setup, we basically don't have time to play games all the time. And it is fun to play games. Like I've played Elden Ring 3 times. I've beaten it 3 times. I've put like over 200 some hours into that game, and I love it. But it's also fun to like beat games and just do it in like a week or 2. Yeah. And that's kind of the premise of this, is like, the reason it's short game is we want to play games that are under like 25 hours roughly. If it goes a little above 25 hours, whatever. But I want to go on a website called How Long to Beat, check the time. If it's under 25 hours, great. Building up to this, we're probably going to be doing like really short ones, like 4 to 6 hours, so we can knock it out in a weekend and just be done and talk about it, because life is busy and it's fun to just be like, hey, this is basically binge watching a TV show, and everyone somehow has time for that. Yeah. So if you can binge watch a TV show, you can play this game, which I think is going to be fun to like kind of just be like, oh yeah, like what games fall into the schedule of a busy person. And especially when you're going to college next year. Yeah. And that's going to be another time where you're going to have weird blocks of time where you're like, I have 6 hours, but like the next 3 days I have no time. Yeah. But I can play this game and do it in 6 hours and be chill. And I don't know what our schedule on this game is going to, or this podcast is going to be, but for now, like while we live in the same area, it'll be fine. We can do 1 or 2 episodes every like month or so, you know. Do it chill and kind of talk about it, and especially if we stick to like, I think Untitled Goose Game is literally like a 4-hour game. Oxenfree is like 6 hours. There's so many games that are just super short. There's a game I literally want to play that's 45 minutes long. Oh, goddamn. Yeah, so we could just do it really easily, and I think that will kind of keep the flow going. And then in the future, if you're up in NAU or you go out of state to colleges or whatever, we can figure out a way, if we want to keep doing it, where like, for example, I have most of these games are on my Switch, and I can just log in on your Switch and you can download them and play them, and then we can talk about them. It won't be the same experience of playing them together, but it'll also have that interesting take of like, how did you experience it by yourself? How did I experience it?
What are the different paths we took?
Exactly, because there's definitely, most of these games have different paths.
Especially Oxenfree. Yeah. I played like the first half of it, and I was like, there are 5 different options I can choose at this one location.
I have never played it or seen it. I've just heard about it, and I know there's a second one coming out, so I was like, okay. Oh, there is? Yeah, there's a second one coming out, supposedly in 2022. I don't believe them, but because they don't have an actual release date, and there's not very many months left. So, but yeah, that's the premise of this podcast. But going back to kind of talking about games, what do you think your favorite game of all time is? Which is a difficult question.
It's a very difficult question. I've got to stick with my... It's just, for me, I really like how things can be the same, but also different at like moving forward.
So you like Lovecraftian stuff?
I like Minecraft.
Okay.
It's just, it stays the same, but it updates so that there's new and interesting things. But like, it's not updates where I have to like go and search like, what's this new thing? Because the new items are pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's a good I feel like that's a good choice. I feel like there's plenty of people, especially from your age group, that would be like, yeah, Minecraft's my favorite video game. Same way somebody would say like GTA Online is their favorite or Fortnite. Like these are just games that everyone plays. And people might be like, oh, that's your favorite game. It's like, yeah, there's a reason so many people play it. It's because it is so many people's favorite game, and it's so easy to just jump into and play.
Yeah, in my entire theater class, we have a Minecraft server.
That's awesome.
And we're literally just like, oh hey, you want to hop on the server at 9 at night, and we'll play for like 2 hours, and we'll be like, okay, see you in class tomorrow.
That's awesome. That's so fun. Like, I definitely didn't, because my experience of through high school was like being a closeted nerd, and like I played video games, but I barely ever talked about it, and I barely played online games, and because I went to high school from 2009 to 2012, and yeah, like there was video games that were popular, and online video games were like pretty in the norm at that point, but I still was like very closeted. I would just buy like single player games, play them on my own, and just like sit in it. Like that was it. Like there was like 3 people I played video games with and talked to about it. And for the most part, like, yeah, it wasn't until I had this like long period of time where I was like not really playing video games. And I don't even, like, I'm looking back, I'm like, what was I even doing? And I think I was just like in a relationship. And that was just like my whole entertainment. Cause like, I don't remember playing video games really. And then, like, I got into college, and I was like, why do I care what people think? And then I just started dressing, like, way more comfortably and started, like, not caring what people thought about me and playing video games again. And then I discovered, like, Let's Plays and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, I got to catch up on, like, games I missed without spending a bunch of money because I'm broke in college. And I just started watching Let's Plays and decided, like, I was like, wow, these are really fun, like, to watch. And I would listen to people talk about game design and like how games work, and like just the simple nature of like, oh, why does this feel good to play, and things like that. And it took me to this path of being like, okay, yeah, now I can actually like play games and be like, oh, okay, I wonder if, like, Breath of the Wild is a perfect example of like a masterpiece of a video game, because you're like, huh, I want to do this, and then you do it and it works, and you're like, awesome. Like the like I had an original thought, and I was like, I wonder if it'll work like this in the game, and it did. Like, that's amazing game design, because it's like you are thinking about what would happen in real life, or something that you think would happen in real life. How does the laws of this world work? And it does, because they're like, oh yeah, we thought about that. We got you. We thought about it. And you want to try that too? Cool, that works also. Like, that's when games like Breath of the Wild is probably my favorite game. To like circle back around on that question, Elden Ring is like very close to like beating it out, but Breath of the Wild is such a more relaxing experience than Elden Ring, and I can just replay it and just play that opening tutorial of like the Great Plateau and just be like, oh, that felt nice, and then be good. You know, it just feels so nice to just be in that world. I've
100%ed it, except for
the Korok seeds.
No, well, I'm almost at all the Korok seeds.
That's insane.
Yeah. There's been times where I play it all day.
That's crazy.
And everything except for beating the final boss.
Oh, you can't beat Ganon?
I can. It's just I get really scared. So I'm like, I'll go and I'll initiate it, and then I'll run away. And I'll be like, I'll do that another day.
That's so funny.
Then I'll just go run around and like kill all the like all the things that respawn during the blood moon, and I'll just hang out in like the stables.
So you've never actually beaten Breath of the Wild?
No.
That's so funny. That is, that you're scared of Ganon. He's not that bad. I promise you.
I know, and I've defeated all the beasts by myself.
Yeah.
And like
those fights are harder than Ganon.
And my brothers are like, dude, you were able to defeat the camel. You're fine.
Exactly. That's definitely Thunderblight Ganon is definitely the hardest one for sure. And then if you beat all the 4 of them when you start the fight, it like puts them at half health and stuff. So you got it. You'll be fine. Just learn how to parry and like block stuff, and you're fine.
That's my worst thing.
Yeah. Go practice. Just go chill in front of a guardian and just practice like smacking that beam back in their face, and you'll be fine. That's so funny. But I know one of your other favorite games is like Mario Odyssey, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's like
I've 100%ed that. Well, not 100%ed it, but I've completed it 3 times and 100%ed it once.
Yeah, that's a long game to 100% complete. Like it's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of moons in that game. And like some of them are not easy. Like they get hard, especially when they start to get into the like combat ones. Where you actually have to like not get hit and things like that. So that's really impressive. If you can beat that game, you can beat Breath of the Wild. I promise you. Like that's way harder than anything Breath of the Wild is going to throw at you. Because Mario games are always like, oh yeah, this is a great time. Yeah, you beat the game. Here you go. All right, here's the other side of things where everything is just a hellscape and it's very difficult. They
throw everything and anything at you. God, it's so like I thought I had 100%ed a level.
Mm-hmm.
And then I searched it up just to make sure. And then I see that I was missing 10 moons.
Yeah.
And I was like, where are these?
Yeah, I know. That's always the craziest thing is like, you're like, what do you mean there's more? How is there more?
Like, I searched every single like square inch. There's nothing. Yeah,
my favorite is always they pull the trick of like, oh yeah, here you beat the game, but here's all the secret stars. Like, oh great, thank you. Here's 100 more stars that we just threw into the game that you couldn't have gotten earlier in the game. They're just unlocked now. You're like, why? Why do you like? It's fun. I love it. I love Mario and all those games. But you're like, eventually, you're like, this is too much. Yeah. I can't do this anymore. But it is a really, really fun game, and that's one of the games I want to go back to. Because I mean, I think we could probably beat that game in under 25 hours if we just like stick straight to the story, and then we can talk about it. But maybe we'll push it a little bit past 25 for that because that is definitely an important game.
One of my like run-throughs of it when I just like I didn't do any of the extra moons, which was really hard because there was some of the extra moons that I knew of. I was like, I could easily get this, but I was like, no, I need to stick to the story this time.
The story. Story of a Mario game.
I was like, no, I need to stick. I need to like go talk to whatever NPC I need to talk to. Don't like run around and try to figure it out. Just like get through it. And that took me, I got through like half of it in like a day.
Okay.
And
that's pretty fast.
And that was through one of my days where I like put down the controller and then I go off and I do something for 30 minutes and then I come back to it and I'm like, oh shoot, I'm still playing.
Yeah.
And then I keep playing for like 2 hours and I'm like, snack time. And I go, snack time takes me 2 hours because then I sit down and watch a movie, come back and I'm like, my game.
Yeah. Just like absolutely like just ADHD all over the place.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Yeah, I think we could probably beat that because that game is just fun. It's not like we can do. I mean, we could do Breath of the Wild if I was very good at the game and we could just go straight to Ganon and I could fight him with 3 stars and a stick or 3 hearts and a stick. We could beat it in like an hour. It's not gonna happen, but because it's possible. Going back to like the questions of like your gaming experience, what kind of games do you kind of like lean more towards, like genres and stuff like that?
I don't really know genre types. I just know that I don't like the ones where like you have to stay on the same path.
Oh, okay. Linear.
Yeah, I don't like linear. I like being able to explore like an open world.
Yes, open worlds, yeah, definitely. I mean, if your favorite game is Minecraft, you're probably leaning towards more
Minecraft, Terraria, Stardew Valley.
Yeah, Stardew Valley. So one, I've never played Terraria. 2, Stardew Valley, I've bounced off like so many times. I own it on like everything that it's available on, and I've tried it because I'm like, oh, it's $5. I'll play it, and I try to play it, and I'm like, I can't do it.
When I first started playing it, because all of my friends are like, oh my god, if you like Minecraft, you'll like Stardew Valley, and I was like, well, I love Minecraft.
Yeah, so let's try.
it. And so like I got it, and my boyfriend also, he was like, you would probably like really like it.
So this is like in the last year or so that you started playing Stardew Valley.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
But when I first started playing it, I could not get into it. I didn't understand like the farming.
Yeah.
I didn't understand like how to like do any of it. I didn't know how to do like the relationship part of it too.
Yeah, that's a huge thing.
And I was like, what? How do I do this?
Yeah.
And my boyfriend, because I was complaining to him, I was like, what do I like?
Yeah.
What do I do? And he's like, it's self-explanatory. I was like, apparently not.
I agree with you. Totally not. But
it took me watching like 3 playthroughs to like finally understand it.
And it clicked. Yeah, that's nice. I mean, yeah, I own it. Eventually, it'll probably click. But for me, like right now, I'm like, no, this is because I'll play games. Like I like relationship sides of games and like building relationships and things like that. And like I've played the Mass Effect games. I play Skyrim. I do all these things that have like relationship stuff. What? Your face? What?
I just remembered playing Skyrim when I was younger.
When you were younger, yeah. I mean, you would have been 6 when that game came out.
I played it on the Xbox 360.
Yeah, that what a console. That's wild. I can't imagine being 6 years old and playing Skyrim. I was 6 years old. That was 1999. I was playing Pokemon Yellow on the Game Boy Color, and that was crazy to me. Like, it's like, wow, look at that. I have a Pikachu. That's it. And you're playing Skyrim, which is one of the like most legendary games of all time. It might be memed into oblivion, which is a good joke because the prior game is Elder Scrolls Oblivion.
Yeah.
And that was not on purpose. But the fact that like Skyrim has been ported to every single thing, like there's even Skyrim on Alexa, I'm pretty sure is a real thing where you can play Skyrim on Alexa. It's a 3-minute joke basically.
Oh, okay.
But it's real. And then there's the joke that you can play it on a Samsung fridge. But the reason it's ported to everything is because it's an insane like breakthrough of a game. And the fact that you were 6 years old when that game came out and you played it, I would have lost my mind if I was, but I guess you were born in 2005, so the game's like you were
I was
playing.
born into technology.
Yeah, it's true. I was, but definitely not.
You were
as
born
much.
at the like not the birth of it, but like
I was born into the 64-bit era of video games,
Yeah.
which is definitely a different time period.
I was born when 4K HD was like beginning to
yeah,
start.
it was coming up. Yeah, you were born into DVDs. I was on the beginning of VHSs.
Yeah, the only exposure I had to VHS tapes were my cousins because they have like that whole collection of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's wild.
But
man.
usually we would just watch things on cable TV.
Cable TV. Yeah, I haven't paid for cable in 5 years, and it's been great.
I've never paid for cable.
Yeah, well, okay. Yeah, what would you have paid for? Do you have any questions for me? Because I'm asking you questions because the reason I'm asking most of these questions to Jess and then answering them myself is because if you don't know, I have YouTube stuff out there. So I've talked about video games quite a lot in my life since like 2015. So if you really want to dive deep into like what games I like, it's out there. But if you have questions for me, go ahead.
You see, when you first started dating my cousin, she like sent all of us like your YouTube.
Oh, okay.
So I watched your YouTube. So like I saw all of your like all your unboxing videos, all your like gaming videos. So
I was a different person back then.
Yeah.
This is still the same mic I was using back then though. This is the famous purple mic that matched my hair.
Oh. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's the same one. I will briefly talk about like what kind of games I like. It's changed over time. Like it used to be like a shooter would come out and I'm like, yeah, a new shooter. I was never really into Call of Duty. I was like a hipster in that. I was like, everybody likes Call of Duty. I don't like Call of Duty. I'm a Halo guy. But there's only been like 6 of those games. So, but yeah, the new Halo would come out. Loved it. Played it through like every single time until Halo Reach. That was the last one that I actually gave a crap about. And, then what was it? I started to transition into the first game that kind of like showed me what video games could be when it comes to like storytelling is Fallout 3, which was, I remember like something clicked in my head. I literally remember the quest I was doing where I was like, this is crazy, where I'm like, there's this mutant that got turned into a tree and he was like, Fallout, if you don't know, people out there, is a post-apocalyptic wasteland kind of thing. So water and life and everything like that is very rare. And because this guy got turned into a tree, this place was called Oasis. And basically, he being alive was like helping keep this place like lush and green and like actually livable. And he was miserable and hating it. And no one would let him die. They kept keeping him alive because he kept everybody else alive. But it's like, this guy's been alive for 200 years.
Goddamn.
And he's stuck as a tree and he wants to die. And I was like, and it gave you the choice. Do you keep everybody else alive or do you end this guy's suffering? And I was sitting there I think that game came out in 2012 maybe. And I was sitting up at my cabin playing that game. And I was like, oh, what is this? What do you mean? I have to make a choice right now? And then I like made the choice of like to kill him, to like put him out of his misery. And then everybody else died. And I was like, whoa, what? And I was like, this is what games can be? This isn't just Sonic? Like it's just not shoot people in the face and that's it? Because most of the time it was just like, yeah, buy the new Halo game, play it through with my buddy. And it was fun and action-packed and stuff. But I can't tell you most of the stuff I can tell you now because I've looked it up. But at the time, I couldn't tell you what the story of Halo was.
I still don't know.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. But yeah, I transitioned from shooters to Western RPGs like Skyrim and Fallout and Mass Effect and things like that. To, of course, I've played Pokemon my entire life, and that's a Japanese RPG or JRPG for those who are in the know. And I, turn-based stuff I've played, like Pokemon. I've played sports games when I was younger. I haven't bought a Madden or any kind of sports game since like 2011. So it's definitely something I kind of avoid. I haven't bought a Call of Duty since 2012, maybe. It's been a long time. But now I definitely lean towards like the chill games. As I say, like Elden Ring is one of my favorite games, like one of the least chill games. Can be chill, but the Animal Crossings. Like I should like Stardew Valley. I should like these games where I'm just kind of chilling. I like a game called Spiritfarer and stuff like that. And it's nice to relax when you play video games. But then I also love any Mario game that comes out, any Zelda game that comes out, puzzle games, things that make me think, things that like kind of challenge storytelling and things like that. Those are definitely games that I love. And we'll get more into. I'm very curious in the future when we play a game, if we like play it and we complete it and we're like, that game fucking sucked. Like, if we're just gonna be like,
podcast is all just ripping into them.
This is terrible. This is a terrible game. Because that'll suck. Because it'll be like we only have so much time to play these games. So even if we play a game that we don't like, unless we abort in the first 30 minutes of playing the game, we're like, yeah, this is bad. We have to do the episode about it because like that was time wasted if we don't. So it's like if we play a game that we don't like, and it's like, well, we're gonna rip into it and be like, I liked this, and then this is what I didn't like, and it's like 45 minutes. But to go into, before we wrap up a little bit, the like I said, the premise of this podcast is to play games that people can knock out in like a week or two if they set aside 2 hours, an hour to play a game every once in a while, because life is busy and it's important to be able to have time to be like, yeah, I have time to play a game for an hour and kind of make some progress and then be done with it in a week or two, or even a month. If you're slow about it, that's totally fine. Like everybody should have games that they can play, and there's tons of games out there that fall under 25 hours or less, and there's some amazing 10-hour games out there that's a week really, if you really wanted to. And I think it's important to like showcase those games and talk about them and talk about how a 4-hour experience can be something that is worth talking about for like an hour or two. And I also, the reason I'm doing this with Jess is because most podcasts have a theater kid, a former theater kid. So I was like, well, I know a theater kid who's currently in theater, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. No, in all seriousness, I think it's just going to be funny because there's a 12-year age gap between us, and I think it's going to be very funny to see the differences of talking about games that I grew up with and comparing them to games you grew up with.
Yeah.
And also, I think it'll be fun to kind of talk and do like, you're around the same age I was when I started to learn more about the in-depths of video games. So I think it'll be fun to, as we talk about it, you're going to start to pick up on things like game design and choices like that are going to be like, and I'm sure you already know. You probably have way more knowledge of that than I did at your age because the games are way better now than they ever have been. The indie world of video games was not as much of a thing for me growing up. And now it's like Stardew Valley. That's a huge indie game. Minecraft was the indie game.
The indie game.
Yeah, like Minecraft came out around the time I was in high school, and like it just shot off.
I think I was like 6 when we first got Minecraft.
That's crazy. I can't imagine playing like a game like Minecraft when I was like 6 years old. That's crazy. Like
the way we had to beg my parents for that.
Wasn't it free?
Yes, but we still had to beg them for it because it was on their computers.
Okay, that makes sense.
Because they didn't let Jared, my brother. They didn't let Jared have a laptop or like computer at all. They didn't let me have a computer. They only let my oldest brother have a computer because he was doing like schoolwork. So we had to beg them for it. And the way we persuaded them was my oldest brother, Jonah, he was watching Yogscast. And they did some type of redstone thing. And they were talking about like the timers and stuff. And Jonah was like, hey, this is like an educational type of game. And my parents are like, okay, if it's educational, then. That's
awesome. That's so smart. Like the second you said redstone, I was like, yep. That's what's crazy is when that game came out, redstone was like nothing. Yeah. Like that's so funny. I'm like so glad you guys were able to convince your parents because like, yeah, it's Minecraft, whatever. Like what's the worst that could happen really? But yeah, is there any closing thoughts you want to have before we like close out on this first episode 0 that maybe no one ever hears? But I'm going to get some good practice in because it's been 3 years since I've done a podcast.
3 years?
Yeah. Yeah. The last time I did a video was like 2 years ago, but I haven't done a podcast in so long. And I'm very excited to be doing them again because they're fun. They're nice. And gives me an excuse to talk about video games, which I love to do.
Gives me an excuse to get out of the house and come here.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good excuse.
Which I love to do.
Yeah, that's a good reason. But yeah, do you have any closing thoughts?
No, I don't really know how podcasts work. So
cool. Yeah, we're learning as we go. This was Short Game Long Talk, episode 0 that may never see the light of day. But if you want to follow me on Twitter and other social medias, but mostly just Twitter, is Mr. the Human. That's MR, not fully Mr. You can follow me there and interact with me if you so choose. We also have a Twitter account for the podcast that has 0 things on it and says we joined in 2018 because it was an old podcast Twitter account that I made and never used. So now it's being taken over by Short Game Long Talk. It's Short Long Pod on Twitter, or if you just look up Short Game Long Talk, I'm sure it's the only thing. There's a reason I chose this name because no one else is using it. But yeah, you can follow us there and interact and do whatever. But I hope you guys enjoy this podcast. I would share it around. That helps a ton. And I think Spotify does 5-star reviews. You can't actually like review, but if you're listening to this on a review, a site that allows reviews, 5-star reviews help the podcast grow immensely. And if you have any game recommendations, again, Twitter is the best place to find me. I will add it to the list, but it has to be under 25 hours unless it's something special. Then I'll maybe push it to 30, but probably not. So we will see you guys in the next episode.
Bye.